Welcome back to the feature where I watch the full movie so you don't have to. I'm your host, Dwayne, and today we're crashing the halls of the faculty from 1998, which is basically a high school version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Let's dive in. The movie starts off with a high school football team getting chewed out by Terminator lookalike Coach Willis, who could use some serious anger management. He dismisses the team before getting a strange visitor. That night, the principal meets with some teachers in the teacher's lounge to explain cutbacks in the school budget. No cutbacks for the football team, though, because the whole town comes out for the games on Friday night. After they leave, the principal is confronted in her office by Coach Willis. He's way more calm than the last time we saw him as he smiles while stabbing a pencil through her hand and saying, "I always wanted to do that." She scratches his face and takes off running. There's no escape because the coach chained all the doors locked. She arms herself with some scissors and finds Mrs. Olson at the door wanting back in to get her gradebook. Of course, neither one has the keys, so that lock is staying put. Principal Drake retrieves her keys from her office before the coach chases her back to the door. She unlocks the chain and barely escapes, dropping her scissors while fumbling with the keys. She's now safely outside with Mrs. Olson. When she turns around, Mrs. Olson starts brutally stabbing her with her own scissors while Coach Willis watches through the glass. The next day seems normal as the students show up for school. We meet the first of our main cast when the super smart repeat senior and resident drug dealer Zeke makes a grand entrance hot rodding into the parking lot in his black GTO. Next up is Casey, the shy, nerdy photographer for the school newspaper whose primary function at the school is to serve as a human punching bag. Then there's goth girl Stokely, who walks around with a large chip on her shoulder, which makes it easy for her to be a loner. We then meet Delilah, who pulls double duty, being both the editor-in-chief of the school paper and the head cheerleader. It's a bit cliche that the quarterback dates the head cheerleader, I know. But don't worry, Stan is quitting the football team because he's tired of being worshipped and now he seeks something more meaningful in life. And finally, there's a new transfer student named Marybeth. She's working the sweet small-town bit with her southern twang, and within minutes of walking into the building, she has already caught Zeke's attention. Class is in session in the bathroom where we learn that Zeke makes and sells his homemade drug he lovingly calls scat. In another uncomfortable situation, Zeke is having a moment with his super timid literature teacher, Miss Burke, in the middle of class. There's definitely some tension between these two. Stan finally tells Delilah that he's quitting football, and the conversation goes south when she reminds him that the social order is that the head cheerleader dates the quarterback, and not some bookworm. After Casey finishes his lunch by the football field, he finds something weird on the field and takes it to his science teacher, who thinks that Casey may have found a new species. The whole class is interested, especially Zeke, who once again shows how smart he really is. A student accidentally spills water on it, and it causes a reaction. The teacher puts it in a fish tank, and then his dumbass sticks his hand in to touch it. Once he does, it splits in two and bites him on the finger. In gym class, Stan tells the coach that he's quitting the team to focus on his academics, and he's stunned that the coach didn't ream him a new one for it. Strange days indeed. It gets even stranger when Stan hits the shower and Mrs. Brummel comes stumbling in. She collapses on him and half her scalp comes off in his hand. Miss Burke confronts Zeke in the parking lot about selling drugs to his fellow students. And you can tell that old Zeke might have a thing for her when he offers her some cherry-flavored condoms and then feels bad for being rude to her. After school, Delilah and Casey sneak into the teacher's lounge looking for a front-page story for the paper. They hide in the closet when Mrs. Olson and Coach Willis walk in and start guzzling water. Casey is busted sniffing Delilah's hair when in walks Nurse Harper. They watch in silent horror as she is held down and Coach Willis gets all veiny in the face before spitting a parasite, like the one Casey found, right into her ear hole. Delilah freaks out and falls backward, causing Mrs. Brummel's body to come falling down on them. Casey covers her mouth to keep her from screaming, but it doesn't matter because the teachers heard the body hit the floor. Coach Willis opens the closet door as Delilah and Casey bust out and make a run for it. They're hauling ass down the hall and run right into Principal Drake. Yeah, I know, what the hell? Wasn't she stabbed to death in the beginning? The principal is then joined by Mr. Tate, and the kids tell them about Nurse Harper being attacked. But then Nurse Harper walks into the hall with Mrs. Olson and Coach Willis like nothing ever happened. They decide not to stick around for any more shenanigans, so they run away. Casey falls down and Delilah leaves him in the dust because she's all about herself and he's not much for running. Later that evening, Casey shows up at the school with his parents and the police. They check the closet but only find a CPR doll. Coach Willis tells him that Nurse Harper was having a seizure and they were just helping her. The principal then takes one of the cops into her office to make a phone call while everyone waits outside. So, yep, he's been turned. Principal Drake then attempts to get Casey's parents to come into her office, but Casey knows what's up and gets his parents out of there quick by promising he'll see a therapist. Unfortunately, the next day, Casey has to go back to school like a lamb to the slaughter. Once inside, students are being called into the office, and Delilah drags him into the bathroom, telling him she wants to go to the police. We figure out that Stokely has a crush on Stan when they share a moment after he tells her about quitting the team. Marybeth sees Zeke pulling some drugs out of his locker, and when she inquires about it, he offers her some. Being the good girl that she is, she declines, saying it would probably kill her. They formally introduce themselves, and there might be some sparks there. Stan and Stokely start thinking something is afoot when they see students being lined up outside the nurse's office. They get a closer look and see Nurse Harper giving everyone an ear exam under the watchful eye of Principal Drake. Zeke is suspecting it too when he spots fellow students lining up in droves for the drinking fountain. Then two of his regular buyers want to buy his entire inventory of scat and being very pushy about it. Sensing something is off, he politely turns them down. And then Miss Burke shows up. Only this time it's not shy, timid Miss Burke. This is the new and improved bitchy Miss Burke that gets in his face and gives it to him good in front of everyone. He just chalks it up to her being on a bad drug trip. Casey tells Stokely about everything, and she thinks they're acting like the pod people from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She brought it up as a joke, but Casey takes it seriously. The Scooby Squad is in full force once Casey and Stokely team up with Delilah and Stan to pursue the theory of aliens taking over the school. Stan is the only one of them that seems to doubt the story, though, because why would aliens want to take over a high school? Zeke and Marybeth break into the storeroom so he can get supplies for his home lab, but they end up making out instead. They get distracted when they overhear the others through the vents, so they go next door to join in on the alien TED Talk. Mr. Furlong comes in and Zeke tells him that Casey thinks he's an alien. To prove them all wrong, Mr. Furlong starts acting shady and won't let them leave. Then it's super obvious when he says this will all be over in a minute. He easily knocks Zeke on his ass, who retaliates by chopping off his fingers with the old school paper cutter that can double as a machete. Zeke stabs Furlong right in the eye with a dose of scat while his little fingers scurry across the floor. His eyes start foaming, which seems like pretty good proof that their theory is right on the money. Like most drugs, it takes scat a few moments to really kick in, and Mr. Furlong is starting to feel it. The foam from his eye starts pouring all over until he falls over dead just as the class bell rings. Casey scoops up one of the fingers into a jar and they make a dash for the parking lot. On their way, they realize everyone is staring at them, indicating most of the people around them have already been turned. They pile into Zeke's car and head to his house where his garage has been turned into a large chemistry lab that would make even Walter White proud. Zeke decides to see what happens when the parasite is placed with a rat. They're horrified to see how fast the takeover happens. The rat is then killed and dissected, where they learn the drug is basically a diuretic which dries out the host body. According to science fiction, Stokely says that the only way to beat the alien is to kill the queen. This then leads to a lot of finger pointing about who's an alien and who's not. The only way to solve that problem is for everyone to take a hit of scat. At first, no one is too keen to do drugs, but they change their mind once a gun is pointed at them. Casey goes first, followed by Zeke and then Stan. Stokely goes first, but then Delilah won't go until Marybeth does. Both girls take a snort at the same time, and we have a winner. Delilah's been turned and shows her alien true self. She trashes the lab before escaping by busting through a wall like She-Hulk. Casey thinks they can save everybody if they can find and kill the queen. Zeke points out this might be a bit of a challenge since Delilah just destroyed most of his scat supply. Thankfully, it's Friday night, which means everyone is watching the football game. Every time their team tackles an opponent, they drop a parasite in their ear, and they're taking them down violently one by one. The Scooby Gang figure that Principal Drake is the queen, which seems like a logical choice since she's in charge. They all gather in the gym, and in walks Principal Drake, completing the search in record time. They jump her and hold her down when Casey hesitates once again. Zeke is a man of action, though, and he takes the gun from Stan and shoots Drake right in the forehead, and down she goes. But she's not done yet. She's back up and a little peeved. Parasites start pouring out of the bullet hole, and Marybeth runs up and hits her in the face with the bulk of the scat they had. They're now down to their last 2 doses. Drake melts like the Wicked Witch, and Stan volunteers to go out on his own to see if it worked. Before he goes, Zeke gives him a vial of scat for self-defense, and Stokely gives him a big kiss, in case he dies. Stan runs out to the field and finds the coach and the team standing in the rain, soaking it all in, and we get a brief preview of what the alien really looks like. He returns to the school, but the others won't let him in unless he takes the scat to prove he's still human. He says he lost it, so they shove their last one under the door. He goes to take it, but then just pours it out. Stan is not Stan anymore. Poor Stokely. She almost had a new boyfriend, and they still don't know who the queen is. Zeke realizes there's still some scat in his car that's parked outside amongst the aliens, so Casey and Zeke leave the girls behind while they retrieve the drugs. It won't be easy though with the football team on the hunt. Casey acts as a decoy to lure the team away while Zeke goes for his car. While hiding, he comes face to face with Delilah. That's right, she's back and has him briefly cornered before he escapes and surprisingly outruns the entire team. Zeke gets to the car and finds Miss Burke waiting for him, and she climbs through the window as he drives away. She's a terrible backseat driver, so he has no choice but to buckle up and slam his car head-on into a bus. Miss Burke goes crashing through the windshield, the bus catches fire, and Zeke's car is toast. He crawls out of the car holding the last of the scat when he sees Miss Burke's head walking across the pavement like the spider scene in the movie The Thing. Nearby, her headless body is searching for the head. Talk about nightmare fuel. He leaves as the body and head reunite, while back in the gym, Stokely and Marybeth are still pondering about who the queen is. And then Marybeth starts talking strange. Stokely takes notice and Marybeth clocks her. She gets up just as Casey comes back in, and they both stare as Marybeth transforms into her true self as the alien queen. They take off running around the pool, forgetting how much the aliens love water. Queen Marybeth dives in and swims across the pool in Olympic gold medal time and yanks Stokely into the water. Casey goes into hero mode and manages to get her out. Being in the pool causes Queen Marybeth to Hulk out. I mean, she's huge now. Casey and Stokely take off for the locker room while Queen Marybeth rises up out of the water, but now she's returned to her human host body and walking around buck naked. Zeke stumbles into the dark locker room and turns around to see Marybeth lurking in the shadows. Stokely pops up behind him to warn him about her, and each girl points the finger at the other. Then Zeke asks Marybeth the magic question, "Why are you naked?" The cat's out of the bag now, so she confesses that she faked the drug test back at Zeke's house. Before he can launch a scat attack, he's held back by Stokely, who was infected while in the pool. Casey intervenes by throwing Stokely into the equipment room and locking her in. Zeke then forces Casey to take a hit of the scat because he leaves for 5 minutes and everyone's a damn alien when he returns. Casey obliges while Marybeth returns to queen form. The two are separated because the drugs kick in and slow Casey down. Out of nowhere, Zeke comes flying over the lockers and crash lands like the greatest American hero. Marybeth reverts back to naked country girl and tells Casey how her planet is dying and that she came to Earth to start over. Casey isn't paying that much attention because he's busy getting the last of the scat from Zeke. Marybeth continues her recruiting speech as she looks for Casey. He's not biting though, so back to Queen Alien mode and the chase is on back to the gym. He hits the button on the retracting bleachers and then runs behind them with her in hot pursuit. He traps her just as he makes it out to the other side. Why she didn't just switch back to Marybeth to get free is beyond me. With her stuck in the bleachers, Casey stabs her in the eye with the remaining scat and she spits parasite worms into his face. As the scat dries her out, she just hangs her head down and dies. The parasite worms crawl out of Casey and fall dead on the floor as well. Back in the locker room, Stokely is back to normal as well, and Zeke is somewhat back on his feet. In the epilogue, we jump ahead 1 month to learn that the press have been reporting about the mysterious disappearance of several faculty members. In this new world, Zeke now plays football under the watchful eye of Miss Burke, who is somehow back in one piece. She is sporting a big scarf around her neck. I wonder what that's about. Stan and Stokely are now a couple, and Delilah is now dating Casey, who's the local hero, having saved the world and all. So I guess everything worked out in the end. This movie proved to be a decent hit at the box office when it premiered on Christmas Day in 1998. Yep, it was actually a Christmas release. Alien invasions always make for a great holiday viewing. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, drop your favorite scene in the comments, and subscribe for more retro cinema every week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next Back to the Feature.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.